Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and game 4 in a series between DuckloadRa and Tarson here on Shakuras Plateau. DuckloadRa spawning as the red Protoss player on the top left hand side of the map. Meanwhile, we have Tarson spawning as the purple Terran on the top right hand side. So this is Shakuras Plateau. There are no rocks leading in. There are no supply depots down over here. So I believe this may just be the normal BattleNet version of the map. Now, DuckloadRa versus Tarson, we'll see how these players will be playing. It seems like a lot of the games have recently been played on very macro-style maps. We are getting some a pylon now warping in by DuckloadRa, but nothing out of the ordinary. No cheese play whatsoever. Now, Shakuras Plateau, a map where your natural expansion is almost a freebie. Very, very easy to defend, very easy to just try to expand there. A forge fast expand against a Zerg player works out fairly well. For Terran players can build that command center, lift off land, and then lay down a couple bunkers and be very, very well protected. In addition, because of this high ground advantage, Zealots and Stalkers need to get within range here, so the Marauders and the Marines get in some free shots before anything really happens. DuckloadRa making his way out with this one probe, and it looks like the probe may be scouting off into the top right hand side first, so DuckloadRa should be able to get some harassment onto Tarson's units. That will be pretty interesting there as the probe now coming back around. We are going to have an SCV now slip down as well, so the SCV now coming down the ramp. DuckloadRa sees this and he pretty much knows that yes, Tarson is somewhere up here. Barracks will get done in just a moment as well, and now this one SCV going to make its way across the map, and it looks like it will be able to sneak in here in just a moment as the probe now trying to get some damage onto an SCV, and it looks like that SCV is just going to take some damage as the probe decides to back off. A Marine will be trained up in just a moment. Another supply depot also being laid down as well, and we should be getting perhaps a factory in just a moment, as well as the Marine trying to catch up to the probe. The probe, however, with a decent enough head start, not going to fall prey. Cybernetics core now warping in, as well as we are getting a Zealot trained over here in the gateway. It looks like it wants to try to deter this SCV, but the SCV can pretty much stick around as long as he wants until a Stalker is trained up. A Marine now coming in the chase after the probe of DuckloadRa. The DuckloadRa now finally seeing the Marine, it was going to back off as the SCV once again continuing to wander around on the inside. Now, I've always said this, Terran players need to figure out what that third critical building is that the Protoss player is trying to go for. There's that SCV. The SCV now trying to run away, and it will be able to escape and then come back to that low ground. Meanwhile, the probe coming in over here and will gain sight on that command center. So a little bit of a slip up there. That probe now perhaps even going to get a kill onto that one SCV as a Reaper now comes down. Should be able to shut down that probe. There it goes. But the expansion has been revealed. One SCV sitting on the low ground as well. That SCV going to get destroyed by a Stalker as the Stalker now moves out to engage. The Stalker now perhaps will be coming back over here and getting some damage onto those probes. Meanwhile, we are getting one Marine. A second Marine needs to be trained up, or a Marauder even better. So the Marauder should be able to hold its own against Stalkers and Zealots. Meanwhile, this one Reaper, not quite sure why it didn't go over there. Perhaps it wanted to gain sight, and passing by a Stalker at just the right moment, sees that there is in fact a Nexus there, and now more Stalkers are being queued up. This Reaper needs to get some damage in, but meanwhile, back over here, the Marauder going against this one particular SC, or this one Zealot. The Zealot trying to get some damage, unable to get some damage onto that guy over there, as I believe this Reaper was able to get only one kill. So that Reaper was sitting over there, unable to really do anything. The command center loses an SCV, as the command center now finally being finished off. The SCV down to 9 hit points. One more shot would have taken it out, but this Reaper getting a decent amount of scouting information. Total workers killed 2-1 at this point, as both players are just trying to salvage and figure out how they want to play this particular game. We are getting a refinery. We should be getting a factory in just a moment. We already have 3 racks up, so it's going to be a 3 racks followed by a factory into a starport with Metavacs and Vikings. Meanwhile, down over here, Tarson just trying to get as many minerals as possible, as he will be spending a lot of minerals on supply depots and Marines. Going into a tech lab now, perhaps this will become a reactor as he is going to ramp up production. Meanwhile, in the base of DuckloadRa sitting on 30 probes compared to 25, so he is having a little bit of a difficult time trying to get a strong economy going. Right now, I would say that Tarson definitely has the advantage with those 2 additional mules in play, and he is already still able to build up more and more. 34 harvesters compared to 27, slightly more for Tarson, as they are mining about the same amount of gas at this point, and we are going to get another assimilator as well. So Tarson running off of 2 gas, while DuckloadRa planning to run off of 4. We are almost 8 minutes into this game, and both sides having relatively small food armies, 49 compared to 51, as we are now getting into 38 harvesters compared to 31. DuckloadRa obviously chrono boosting his Nexus in order to crank up that probe production. Observer now flying around in order to gain some additional scouting information as well. We are getting reactors down, and so we are going for Ghost as well. So an early Ghost Academy, and meaning that we are going to get some EMP shockwaves down. And if DuckloadRa tries to hold off with just and I say with just only sentries, he's going to have a very difficult time. The Ghosts are out. 2 Ghosts are out. 200 minerals, 100 gas each, as the units are continuing to just make their way around and abound. Marines are now trying to stim underneath. Yeah, getting some damage onto that one observer. Down it goes. Combat shield has not been started yet. It should be started right after the... combat shield now starting up on this additional tech lab there, as another command center may be coming into play soon. Tarson could easily build another command center and then try to lift it off and land it here, as the Marauders and the Marines are finally making their way out. I still don't see a factory, though. There's that factory finally coming into play, but Tarson will not get any medevacs. So no medevacs. He is just going to be pretty much all-inning with this group of units. He knows that these units probably will not survive. He's not going to get too much longevity out of them, but he wants to get some damage in. We see that the High Templars are almost completed with Psystorm, though, so that is going to be a huge, huge surprise. The Ghost trying to come in. Are they going to get some EMP shockwaves or make it feedback? And that's going to be a problem. There's 1 EMP shockwave, 2 EMP shockwaves, and a Psystorm, and the Marauders just getting destroyed. And now Archons are merging in, trying to get as much damage as possible. The Archon will be coming out. A High Templar will get destroyed, and now in comes that Archon there. The Archon coming in and getting in a lot of damage. It does not take any bonus damage at all. It does not get slowed. And DuckloadRa surprising with those High Templars, able to destroy this entire attacking force with just a number or a handful of very micro Gosu plays, getting a feedback onto those Ghosts, as Zealots are now trying to run in as well. They are not going to be able to really do that much damage either. Level 1 weapons upgrade now being trained. We are getting a lot of minerals. DuckloadRa is currently sitting on. He's sitting on 5 gateways, now going into double forges as well. He needs to spend all of those minerals. There you go, finally increasing his production, getting in some more gateways there. He does have 2 Archons. The Archons may be picked up, and we are going to have an Archon drop. Archons deal a lot of damage towards these, or to these SCVs. The SCVs are mechanical, and then he can also warp in some additional units right behind them. And the key question is, will Tarson spot this Warp Prism? The Warp Prism is now revealed, and now we are going to get those Archons dropped into play. Archons do deal some splash damage, unable to get through though, as they are rather wide units. And now in come the Marines and the Marauders, both sides trying to fight back. And and now pick it up, and he should just drop the Archon. Doesn't drop the Archon in time. Too many Marines, and down goes that Warp Prism. So very, very expensive units lost without dealing that much damage. We already have the reactor up for that starport, so double training medevacs first, and then followed by Vikings as well. It looks as though 1 medevac is already in the air, going to quickly spot this pylon. It should try to clean it up. Yeah, gonna clean up that pylon there. And this pylon most likely will just get canceled. There is an SCV down over here as well. I believe the DuckloadRa was able to spot this SCV. but no command center is being built at all. The medevac now already on the move once more. There is another pylon here, interestingly enough, so it will be able to warp in units onto that high ground ledge there as the medevac now in transit. Another warp prism coming into play, and it looks like it wants to try to Psystorm the mineral line. It will take 2.5 seconds for DuckloadRa to drop those High Templars and then get that Psystorm off. So there you go. There's one Psystorm. Down goes all of those SCVs. And now, but also losing a lot of those 2 High Templars in that engagement as well. But a lot of workers have been killed. Taking a look at the Harvester count, 56 compared to 39. Tarson does have a much larger army at this stage, moving out with these probes. Going to be able to focus down the Zealots really easily. Oh, a feedback onto the medevac and a Psystorm to boot. Those Marauders and Marines need to get out of there. This one medevac very low on hit points. And it looks as though the High Templar, or sorry, the 2 Marines may have actually been able to finish off the Stalker if the Stalker did not try to turn around. A pylon now warped in on the high ground. This SCV going to get destroyed. So both players running off of 2 bases right now as DuckloadRa attempts to set up his 3rd base. Marines and Marauders, or just an army of Marines, finishing off that one particular stalker there, and now going to finish off this pylon. The Marines on stim should be able to finish that off with no real issue, as another command center being built by Tarson. We are getting another warp prism into play, level 2 ground armor, and the robotics base, so Colossi will be added in just a moment, as we are sitting on 55 probes. DuckloadRa doesn't seem to be training as many probes as he was just in the previous games, so his economy is still not as strong as it could be. There are a lot of stalkers here, as I'm not quite sure where those stalkers came from, and a High Templar pulling back as well, and a Zealot in midfield as the medevac, along with those Marines, try to make sure that there is nothing in this location. The Marines are now just going to simply return home. There is one observer there, but that observer obviously not revealed. Stalkers and High Templar making their way back over here, perhaps going to intercept this one medevac. The medevac has 2 Marauders, 4 Marines, and it should be more than enough to try to deal with one medevac there. So the medevac drop should be coming in just a moment, but there's a drop into the main base first. Double medevac drop. Zealots now trying to come in, and now gonna all get picked up and pulled away. So these Zealots here, there is also one High Templar. The High Templar could double feedback those medevacs, but not enough to finish them off, as another drop comes in. More units are warping in once again. The High Templar still doesn't have enough to feedback, as the Marauder tries to finish off the last couple of those Zealots, and no, it will not be able to do so. And really, Tarson trying to get a lot of damage with these medevacs has not been successful as of late. The High Templars simply waiting as those 2 medevacs may come in for another suicide run in just a little bit of time. It looks like, no, the Marauders and the Marines not going to push in here, as there are now 2 photon cannons to act as a deterrence. Production, level 2 armor upgrades now completing, extended thermal lances and photon cannons now completing as well. So I believe DuckloadRa should be able to push out very easily with this army in just a matter of seconds. This group of units here, very, very strong. His army, 3,500 with 1,225, but Tarson is sitting on a very large army here with a lot of units. You can take a look: 25 Marauders, 24 Marines, 4 Vikings, 3 Ghosts, and now adding a 2nd starport and another reactor as well. So he will be able to double train medevacs and Vikings. You can see Tarson sitting on, floating about 2,000 resources, and currently supply locked at 145, over 145. That is a definite issue. He needs to get those supply depots up, and I don't see any in production. Never mind, I'm swapping the colors. Okay, so we have Tarson, or DuckloadRa, sitting on a bunch of resources, and he is not supply locked. He just needs to get his gateways cooldown to complete, and he will be able to dump those rather easily. 5,000, 2550, or 5250, 1625 versus 4225, 1400 in terms of total resources. Tarson is currently upgraded at 1-1. Meanwhile, we have 1-2 upgrades coming in from DuckloadRa. So DuckloadRa is going to be able to, I believe, just simply attack move with this very, very superior army, unless he gets out microed. Perhaps some critical or some nicely placed EMP shockwaves will give him the advantage, as another drop coming in. The Marauders and the Marines simply trying to snipe down this one robotics bay over there. It looks like one of the medevacs was feedbacked, so unable to do any additional damage as the medevac now deciding to pull off. The medevac does have a lot of low hit point units, should just try to drop, heal them up before coming back and dealing more damage here. But really not that much to talk about. 5100 versus 2325, and now personal cloaking also being researched for those ghost missile turret now being laid down as well, as the Vikings, 6 Vikings in the air with 3 more Vikings in production, really need to finish off those Colossus. The Colossus now backing off, and DuckloadRa, even though he has the smaller army in terms of cost, I really think that his damage output is significantly higher if he's able to position this well. He also has a stronger economy, so he's able to replenish his units much more quickly in each of these engagements, as the Ghost and all of these units are just still following, just trying to gather together what 4 Marines, 2 Marauders getting into a medevac, perhaps trying to drop onto this high ground location here. There are 2 photon cannons to act as a deterrent, so some natural base defense. 4 Vikings, 4 Marauders, 1 Marine, level 2 or 2-2 upgrades about to be completed. And as the 2-2 upgrades are completing, it will give Tarson a much larger advantage to try to fight now, as before it was 1-1 against 3-2. So the window of opportunity is quickly fading away, as Tarson may be coming in for another drop. And now here comes the engagement. The factory does spot this, as the 3 Colossi and 3 Archons. A lot of damage in this really tightly packed group of units here. And the medevac may be trying to come in and do a drop here. Yes, it is going to be doing a drop in this location. There are a couple of probes already being transferred over, and those probes are just going to fall to the wayside. And this is going to be a very devastating drop, as a battle now occurring in the middle of the field. The Ghost getting off a lot of EMP shockwaves, as many of those units are just completely out of energy. The Ghosts are cloaked and still firing back. The Vikings need to perhaps get into ground mode, as Psystorm finally engaging. The High Templars need to get focused down by those Ghosts. Those Ghosts do deal additional damage there, as the Marauders and the Marines are now pushing through, and you can see Tarson with a massive army advantage. 151 versus 89 now, and the production, level 3 weapons upgrade and armor upgrades coming in. We may just have a straight elevator drop. There are 5 medevacs in this group, and I think if he elevator drop into this location here, he may get a lot of damage in. Back over here, it looks like a lot of probes were taken down. Let's take a look at the worker kills. Yes, 16 worker kills now, as this one proxy pylon will get destroyed. It will take a bit of time for DuckloadRa to replenish his army, as 61 probes versus 55 SCVs. Zealots now making a way out over here. This one poor Marine sees a very large army. It wants to back off, but just doing its job, standing guard at a Zelnaga watchtower. And now down goes another observer there. Marine trying to fight back against all of these Zealots. The South Marine not as lucky as that North Marine. A command center is done. It should lift off and land here in just a moment. Production, we are getting 4 more Marauders, 3 more medevacs, and 3-3 upgrades coming in. Those Vikings, very dangerously low on hit points. SCVs are on auto repair now, so they will be able to replenish or heal up those units, as the Zealots are now going to try to engage. And oh, in comes a Psystorm. SCVs falling apart, but now all of those High Templars just getting EMP shockwave. In come the Zealots, another EMP shockwave coming in. The Vikings perhaps need to land in on the ground. The Ghost trying to EMP the Archons, but only destroys 100 shields, and down it goes. So we are going to have the Marauders and the Marines once again push out. There is going to be one Colossus caught in midfield. Not quite sure why the Vikings turned around first, when the Vikings were the ones that could deal the most damage. A Zealot now in the mineral line, looking to take apart all of these SCVs. The one Zealot, however, doesn't stand a chance. And taking a look at the armies, what, 6,000 with a 2,400 gas. DuckloadRa still in a bit of trouble, as another drop will be coming in. So 22 workers killed now compared to 31. But Tarson is getting these late worker kills and just causing, or just pretty much trying to be everywhere at once and causing a headache. Psystorm most likely will feed back onto the medevac. Psystorm, there it is, and down it goes. Mass Marauders, 3-3 Marauders in just a moment. Ghosts now being trained once more. You can see that Tarson is sitting on a large amount of gas. So sitting on 1,100 gas, he could perhaps add a couple Ravens to the army in order to drop some point defense drones. Point defense drones, good at intercepting the stalker attacks and also revealing all of those observers. freeing up more minerals to mine or to be mined from those mules. SCV is just mining away down over here, overly saturated, as another expansion could be coming in here in just a moment. Both players have taken east versus west locations or stances, as the income tab shows 64 to 62. DuckloadRa now behind in minerals, as those mules will be able to just start being called into play even further. Scanner sweep reveals nothing at all, as the factory just goes from north to south and figures out what exactly DuckloadRa is going to try to do. DuckloadRa sitting on a very small army. The gas army of Tarson larger than the mineral army of DuckloadRa, and you never want to see that. There are a lot of Archons and a lot of High Templars. Those High Templars cannot be grouped together, though. If they are grouped together, they are going to suffer a lot of damage or just lose all of their energy from one EMP shockwave. There's the scanner sweeps. The ghosts now need to try to lead the way. You can see there are 7 ghosts in the group, and those ghosts are going to simply just come in and cloak. Oh, Psystorm now blindly coming in, sniping all of those High Templars, and now perhaps getting an EMP shockwave. The ghosts are battling it out first. The ghosts leading the charge, as the Marauders and the Marines are now trying to just walk up the ramp here. Vikings and now battling it out, and both sides just dealing a lot of damage, but Tarson, having the stronger and larger army, should simply be able to attack move with this, and now even up the series at 2 games apiece. So stay tuned for Game 5 in this best of 5 series on Krevas. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.